Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of AI Master Session with Rosemary. Today I'm doing a live reaction and a short recap of the AI World Fair AI Engineer Conference. If you are following along with that brand, I tagged them in this video, but this is their third annual conference. I've been watching it ever since they started, and it's been getting better and better. So let's hop right into the content so you can get the message, and I'll just be pausing and sharing my reaction as I feel the need to. Okay, it should work now. Okay, I was like, where is it? Now we got it. You can't see nothing. Is that because of me? I'm not sure. Let me restart it. Okay, yeah, that was because of me. Every time I play it, it's literally not showing. That's so weird. I've refreshed the screen. Oh, we're having technical difficulties. Let me stop sharing my screen while I fix this. So I watched a good bit of it. I feel that this year's conference was really tailored to implementation like none other. Like the previous conferences were just more of an introductory to what's possible, what's available for builders. But this one was more so really intense on how we can start implementing these. So let me try to share this again. And the companies that were featured, the founders that spoke this time were very much so realistic with the advice that they gave. I believe, sometimes, especially in conferences, you can get cookie cutter advice. And what I mean by that is the advice sounds good, but it's not really tangible. And you may feel like you're not getting what you want out of the session, or you may feel like it could have been more. But I feel that the reason why I was inspired to even do a recap video is simply because this year they really had some amazing speakers. I'm gonna attempt this screen share again. Alrighty. This is the window. Yes, share this window. Now we got it. Okay, I'm gonna refresh. Let me just see if we play from the beginning. You just see white on YouTube. That's wild. Refresh it again. Look at me. Okay. So it's genuinely not playing this video the way I need it to play. You know what? Let me try to do this. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna remove it from the string for a second so I get it through the first commercial. And then I'm gonna pull it up. Okay, y'all, we got it going. I know y'all like about time. I know I am. Share this window. Yes. The A mode. Dismiss. It says you are sharing entire screen. No, I don't want to share my entire screen. Thought I was on the window. Thank God this is a stream. I really should have stayed on Chrome. That's actually what I'm about to do. I switched browsers trying to be fancy, and I'm seeing that that is costing. So we're about to go on a little break until I pull it back up. Show and okay. Trying to get my little background back, child. I don't even know if it's gonna let me do it since I'm on camera. It doesn't really matter. It's nice. Let me share this tab. Okay, this way y'all can hear it. That's the whole point. Okay, we moving. We in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the VP of Developer Relations at Llama Index, Lori Voss.
Hello, everybody. There are so many of you. It is great to see you here today. Welcome to the 2025 AI Engineer World's Fair. Let's hear it from you. Welcome to the Yerba Buena Ballroom, for those of you who managed to fit into the room. I'm told this is the largest pillarless ballroom west of Las Vegas, which is the perfect metaphor for AI startups because the scale is impressive, but it has no visible means of support. My name is Laurie Voss. I am VP of Developer Relations at Llama Index, the best framework for building agentic AI applications, according to me. I'm going to be your MC today and tomorrow, and my first order of business is I have to take a selfie because if I can't post it to social media, did it even really happen? Pretend you've just heard a really funny intro and you're laughing. Excellent. All right. It's traditional as an MC to warm up the audience with a couple of jokes, and as an AI practitioner, it's traditional to not want to do any work and to get the AI to do it for you. So I tried that, and it was a great learning experience. The primary thing that I learned is that LLMs are terrible at writing jokes. I mean, atrocious. I tried ChatGPT, I tried Claude, I told them to think deeply, I asked them to search the web. None of it worked. AGI will be achieved when models can say something actually funny. Until then, these dad jokes are handcrafted by a human. But on to business. Once upon a time, I was co-founder of NPM Inc., so I used to talk about JavaScript a lot. And I've been a web developer for 27 years. These days, I'm talking about AI, and I'm very excited about AI, because when you've been in tech as long as I have, you only see revolutions as big as the one that is being powered by AI a couple of times. But tech is full of things that say they're going to be the next big revolution, and then turn out to be just hype. Blockchain, NFTs, the metaverse, the Segway. But make no mistake, this one is real. There's a ton of hype too, of course. Not all of these AI startups are going to turn out to be real things, but there is a core of real revolution happening. And how can you tell? Because people are building things that people are actually using. ChatGPT hit 100 million users faster than any consumer product in the history of tech. Millions of people are using it daily to get actual stuff done. Sometimes they're using it to get stuff done that they shouldn't be using it to do, like cheating on their essays or writing fake law citations into real court cases, but also real things hundreds of millions of times a day. You'll be hearing from multiple speakers from OpenAI over the course of this conference, including Greg Brockman, who'll be closing out today. Another real adoption story is Copilot. GitHub Copilot has millions of subscribers, and Copilot is now part of Microsoft 365, which is available to 84 million everyday consumers. Azure AI is being adopted by enterprises to the tune of $13 billion in revenue annually. That is real adoption. And speaking of Microsoft, they're here. In fact, they're our presenting sponsors, so let's hear it for them.
Grammarly's proactive, automatic writing suggestions are great, but sometimes you just want to tell Grammarly how to help.
All right, while that commercial is going, I think I'll interject in here. So I agree with what he's saying. I think it's important for us to note where we are with AI adoption. He mentioned 13 billion plus already investment in AI adoption. So it's not something that is a curiosity or a spectator's new game plan. It is really game time. And this is why I actually, again, wanted to do a live reaction to this, because again, this conference is one of many that are going to really lay down more of a foundation, more so than anything when it comes to AI. You have to see where we are now, because where we were 3 years ago, when many of us were just newly introduced to the term ChatGPT or AI, wasn't even on our radar. Now it's in our face. It's now going to be in our respective jobs, in our businesses. It's already in our email, right? So I think it's important for us to really hear what is being said, even if you're not an engineer. I know this is real deep tech talk and may go over a lot of people's heads who are just wanting to know about AI. I just definitely feel like We need more instruction and adoption for users of these said models. And this conference really laid it out if you are a person that is a fellow founder on mindset, on what to think about, and really allowing yourself to catch up with where we actually are in the market. So, with that being said, let's continue.
Yes, so much so that they're going to spend $87 billion on AI infrastructure this year. AWS are also here. They're our innovation partner for this conference, contributing tons of sessions and workshops, so let's give them a big hand. Two more companies doing big, real things in AI are Neo4j and Braintrust. They are our track sponsors. Braintrust is the end-to-end evaluation platform for building world-class AI apps, and Neo4j are the world's most loved graph database. There's a whole track about GraphRag this year, so there will be no shortage of GraphRag content. Last year, Neo4j CEO Emil Ephraim had the second most popular talk at the whole conference. And this year, multiple Neo4j people are speaking, so you won't want to miss them. Who had the most popular conference talk last year? Well, I don't want to brag, but it was Llama Index's CEO, Jerry Liu. He is going to be giving a talk tomorrow that you won't want to miss, and also little old me is giving a talk at 1 p.m. today. We've got a bunch of other great sponsors. These are our platinum sponsors. Graphite is the AI-powered developer productivity platform that helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. Windsurf is the first agentic IDE that 10x's engineers so that you can dream bigger. MongoDB's Atlas database makes storing all of your data, including your vector embeddings, a snap. Daily is the team behind Pipecat, the most widely used framework for voice agents and multimodal AI. And Augment Code is the AI agent that knows you and your code base best. And WorkOS helps you ship your software to enterprise customers with features like single sign-on in minutes. Let's give all of our platinum sponsors a big hand. But one of the biggest signs that AI is powering a real revolution is all of you here today. This is the third year of this conference. This is the biggest one yet. There are over 3,000 of you here today. That's nearly twice as many as last year. You folks are building real things every day, and real people are using them, and that's incredibly inspiring. So you should feel good about that and give yourselves a hand. And this is going to be a heck of a conference. We have over 250 speakers here from around the world talking about every aspect of AI: architecture, infrastructure, AI in the Fortune 500, robotics, design, MCP. Who is here is excited to hear about MCP? That's good. It's going to be in this room. Security, tiny teams, vibe coding. There is so much stuff to learn here today, y'all, that you are going to have a great time. And that's why we're all here. We're not just talking about these technologies. We're not just excited about these technologies. We're building with these technologies. And we can't wait to see what you've been building. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage a man who needs no introduction, editor of the Latent Space podcast, CEO of Small AI, and co-founder of this very conference, the one and only Swix.
Love Swix. Great speaker. They had amazing sponsors.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the conference. How you doing? Excellent. I've been so excited to play with this. Oh, can we sit back to the main slide? Okay, good. There's a front clicker, but no back clicker. Usually I open these conferences with a small little talk to introduce what's going on, and then give you a little update on where the state of AI engineering is and how we put together the conference for you. This is one of those combined talks. I'm trying to answer every single question you have about the conference, about AI news, about where this is all going, and we'll just dive right in. Okay, so 3,000 of you, all of you registered last minute. Thank you for that stress. I actually can quantify this. I call this the Gini coefficient for the AIE organizer stress. This is compared to last year. It is. Please just buy tickets earlier. Like, I mean, you know you're going to come. Just do it. Okay. We also like to use this conference as a way to track the evolution of AI engineering. Those are the tracks for last year. We've just doubled every single track for you. So basically, it's like double the value for whatever you get here. And I think I think this is as much concurrency as we want to do. Like I hear that people have decision fatigue and all that, totally. But also we try to cover all of AI, so deal with it. We also pride ourselves in doing well by being more responsive than other conferences like NeurIPS and being more technical than other conferences like TED or what have you. So we asked you what you wanted to hear about. These are the surveys. We tried all sorts of things. We tried computer using agents. We tried AI and crypto. It's always a fun one. And but you guys told us what you wanted, and we put it in there. For more data, we would actually like you to finish out our survey. Our survey's not done. So if you want to hit to that URL, we will present the results in full tomorrow. We would love all of you to fill it out so we can get a representative sample of what you want, and they'll inform us next year. Okay. I think the other thing about AI engineering is that we also have been innovating as engineers, right? We're the first conference to have an MCP. We're the first conference to have an MCP talk accepted by MCP. Shout out to Sam Julian from Ryder for working with us on the official chatbot, and Quinn and John from Daily for working with us on the official voice bot, as well as Elizabeth Triken from VAPI. I need to give her a shout out because she originally helped us prototype the voice bot as well. So we're trying to constantly improve the experience. The other thing I think I want to emphasize as well is these are the talks that I give. Like in 2023, the very first AIE, I talked about the 3 types of AI engineer. In 2024, I talked about how AI engineering was becoming more multidisciplinary, and that's why we started the World's Fair with multiple tracks. In 2025 in New York, we talked about the evolution and the focus on agent engineering. So where are we now in sort of June of 2025? That's where we're going to focus on. I think we've come a long way regardless. Like, people used to make fun of AI engineering, and I anticipated this. We used to be low status. People just deride GPT wrappers. And look at all the GPT wrappers now. All of you are rich. So we're going to hear from some of these folks in the room, and thank you for sponsoring as well. But I think the other thing that's also super interesting is that the consistent lesson that we hear is to not overcomplicate things. From Anthropic on the Latent Space podcast, we hear from Eric Schluntz about how they beat Sweetbench with just a very simple scaffold. Same about deep research from Greg Brockman, who you're going to hear later on in the sort of closing keynotes, as well as AMP code. Where's the AMP folks here? AMP? I think they're probably back in the other room. But also, there's a sort of emperor has no clothes. It's still a very early field, and I think the AI engineers in the room should be very encouraged by that. There's still a lot of alpha to mine. If you watch back all the way to the start of this conference, we actually compared this moment a lot to the time when sort of physics was in full bloom. Right? This is the Solvay conference in 1927 when Einstein, Marie Curie, and all the other household names in physics were all gathered together, and that's what we're trying to do for this conference. We've gathered the best sort of AI engineers in the world, and researchers and all that to build and push the frontier forward. The thesis is that this is the right time to do it. I said that 2.5 years ago, still true today. But I think there's a very specific time when basically what people did in that time of the formation of an industry is that they set out all the basic ideas that then lasted for the rest of that industry. So this is the standard model in physics, and there was a very specific period in time from the 40s to the 70s where they figured it all out, and the next 50 years we haven't really changed the standard model. So the question that I want to phrase here is, what is the standard model in AI engineering, right? We have standard models in the rest of engineering, right? Everyone knows ETL, everyone knows MVC, everyone knows CRUD, everyone knows MapReduce. And I've used those things in building AI applications, and it's pretty much yes, RAG is there, but I heard RAG is dead. I don't know. You guys can tell me. this day it's like long context kills RAG, the other day fine tuning kills RAG. I don't know, but I definitely don't think it's the full answer. So what other standard models might emerge to help us guide our thinking? And that's really what I want to push you guys to. So there are a few candidates, standard models in AI engineering. I'll pick out a few of these. I don't have time to talk about all of them, but definitely listen to the DSPy talk from Omar later tomorrow.
All right. So while that's playing, I definitely agree. We are in a shift in understanding what standardized models are available to us. I definitely feel that, again, he kind of recapped what I said about the conference as a loyal follower of this brand. One of the best tech conferences to invest in thus far. And as you can see from just their sponsors alone, it's definitely worth the investment. Let me go back. I was trying to skip back to where he was at. Okay, I think this is the first one.
I want to push you guys to. So there are a few candidates, standard models in AI engineering. I'll pick out a few of these. I don't have time to talk about all of them, but definitely listen to the DSPy talk from Omar later tomorrow. So we're going to cover a few of these. So first is the LLMOS. This is one of the earliest standard models, basically from Karpathy in 2023. I have updated it for 2025 for multimodality, for the standard set of tools that have come out, as well as MCP, which has become the default protocol for connecting with the outside world. Second one would be the LLM SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. I have two versions of this, one with the intersecting concerns of all the tooling that you buy. By the way, this is all on the Latent Space blog if you want, and I'll tweet out the slides, so and it's live stream, so whatever. But I think for me, the most interesting insight and the aha moment when I was talking to Ankur of Brain Trust, who's going to be keynoting tomorrow, is that the early parts of the SDLC are increasingly commodity, right? LLMs kind of free, monitoring kind of free, and RAG kind of free. Obviously, it's just free tier for all of them, and you only start paying. But like when you start to make real money from your customers is when you start to do evals and you start to add in security orchestration and do real work that is real hard engineering work. And I think those are the tracks that we've added this year, and I'm very proud to, I guess, push AI engineering along from demos into production, which is what everyone always wants. Another form of standard model is building effective agents. Our last conference, we had Barry, one of the co-authors of Building Effective Agents from Anthropic, give an extremely popular talk about this. I think that this is now at least the received wisdom for how to build an agent. And I think that is one definition. OpenAI has a different definition, and I think we're just continuing to iterate. I think Dominic yesterday released another improvement on the Agents SDK, which builds upon the swarm concept that OpenAI is pushing. The way that I approach sort of the agent standard model has been very different. So you can refer to my talk from the previous conference on that. Basically, trying to do a descriptive top-down model of what people use, the words people use to describe agents, like intent, control flow, memory, planning, and tool use. So there's all these like really, really interesting things. But I think that the thing that really got me is like, I don't actually use all of that to build AI News. By the way, who here reads AI News? I don't know if there's like yeah, oh my God, like there's half of you. Thanks. It's a really good tool I built for myself, and hopefully now over 70,000 people are reading along as well. And the thing that really got me was Sumit. At the last conference, he's the lead of PyTorch, and he says he reads AI News, he loves it, but it is not an agent. And I was like, what do you mean it's not an agent? I call it an agent, and you should call it an agent. But he's right. It's actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But like, why does it still deliver value, even though it's like a workflow, and is that still interesting to people, right? Like, why do we not brand every single track here, voice agents, like workflow agents, computer use agents? Like, why is every single track in this conference not an agent? Well, I think basically we want to deliver value instead of argue about terminology. So the assertion that I have is that it's really about human input versus valuable AI output. And you can sort of make a mental model of this and track the ratio of this, and that's more interesting than arguing about definitions of workflow versus agents. So for example, in the Copilot era, you had sort of like a debounce input of like every few characters that you type, then maybe you'll do an autocomplete. In ChatGPT, every few queries that you type, it will maybe output a responding query. And it starts to get more interesting with the reasoning models, with like a 1-to-10 ratio. And then obviously with like the new agents, now it's like more sort of deep research, notebook LM. By the way, Riza Martin also speaking on the product management track. She's incredible on talking about the story of notebook LM. The other really interesting angle, if you want to take this mental model to stretch it, is the 0 to 1, the ambient agents. With no human input, what kind of interesting AI output can you get? So to me, that's more a useful discussion about input versus output than what is a workflow, what is an agent, how agentic is your thing versus not. Talking about AI news, so it is like a bunch of scripts in a trench code, and I realized I've written it 3 times. I've written it for the Discord scrape, I've written it for the Reddit scrape, I've written it for the Twitter scrape, and basically it's always the same process. You scrape it, you plan, you recursively summarize, you format, and you evaluate. And yeah, that's the 3 kids in the trench coat. And that's really what it is. I run it every day, and like we improve it a little bit, but then I'm also running this conference. So if you generalize it, that actually starts to become an interesting model for building AI-intensive applications, where you start to make thousands of AI calls to serve a particular purpose. So you sync, you plan, and you sort of parallel process. You analyze and sort of reduce that down to from many to one, and then you deliver the contents to the user, and then you evaluate. And to me, like that conveniently forms an acronym SPADE, which is really nice.
Great
There's also
breakdown.
sort of interesting AI engineering elements that are fit in there. So you can process all these into a knowledge graph. You can turn these into like structured outputs, and you can generate code as well. So for example, ChatGPT with Canvas or Claude with artifacts is a way of just delivering the output as a code artifact instead of just text output. And I think it's like a really interesting way to think about this. So this is my mental model so far. I wish I had the space to go into it, but ask me later. This is what I'm developing right now. But I think what I would really emphasize is, I think like there's all sorts of interesting ways to think about what the standard model is and whether it's useful for you in taking your application to the next step of like, how do I add more intelligence to this in a way that's useful and not annoying? And for me, this is it. Okay, so I've thrown a bunch of standard models in here, but that's just my current hypothesis. I want you at this conference, in all your conversations with each other and with the speakers, to think about what the new standard model for AI engineering is. What can everyone use to improve their applications? And I guess ultimately build products that people want to use, which is what Lori mentioned at the start. So I'm really excited about this conference. It's been such an honor and a joy to get it together for you guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
All right, so that was the first half of the conference. Like I said, well, it was an 8-hour video. We're not going through 8 hours of content for a recap. But I do want to, highlight, go and subscribe to their channel on YouTube, which is AI Engineer. Just type it in, like I have it in my search bar. You want to subscribe so that you can watch the previous years and the current conference. There's day 2 tomorrow. He set the foundation of understanding from an AI engineer aspect of where we are in the journey, because as an AI engineer, we're building. And I believe next year's conference is going to be more so about whatever this vibe coding era is that we're entering into, and have vibe marketing and vibe that. But this is a engineers conference, and it's very technical, and that's what I love about this conference, because sometimes you don't want to be hearing too many talks that are not tailored to real builders and people who are actually in the field of development and engineering, or you're in the mindset of that, right? So this is top 10 on my list of conferences to listen to, attend. Like he said, order your tickets. It's a great conference to use those reimbursement opportunities that your employer may give you for attending the conference, because it's definitely not like the other ones. There are a lot of AI conferences, but this one just is 10 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie. I love this conference. I watched all of them, and it's been monumental for my mindset. Like last year, they were talking about AI, agentic AI, and those talks to this day, 10 out of 10. Um, so if you want to tune in tomorrow, definitely subscribe so you get notified when they go live. And I would even say go and participate in those surveys, because it's a QR code, and let them know what you want to see next year, because they do incorporate us and our opinions into their planning. And I think that's phenomenal. There was a talk, I don't know the timestamp, to the founder, but she shared a really insightful breakdown of just like the mind frame of a builder, and where you should be what you should be thinking about when it comes to what you're building in the timeline, because this whole wrapper concept is going to be evolved into something more as we are introducing, as this conference is hitting on MCPs, and that's kind of been like the central theme I've been hearing so far from day one. So if you've been wanting to understand MCPs or look at the opportunities that MCPs are actually bringing as a builder, again, they really covered that. I think we're going to watch one more talk together, and I'll do my reaction and recap. I'm really just kind of letting y'all hear it and just briefly interjecting my opinions, but we just really saw a foundational framework blueprint that you can look at for the second half of this year on what areas should you be focusing on in AI just in this short time. So if you've been thinking about starting your build and you need some direction, this is prime real estate information to get context about what is the next dimension in the era that we're in when it comes to AI adoption. Okay, so let me press play. We're gonna keep it going. Her talk was really good, so we're gonna listen to her.
Is the head of product for Microsoft's AI platform, presenting about the open agentic web. Here to show us what happens when natural language creation meets an industrial-grade backbone is Asha Sharma.
Great. The new GoDaddy Arrow has
Doggone commercial got me.
Hello. I still remember the first line of code that I wrote. It was on this computer, a Compact 95, and I also remember the feeling that I had when I wrote my first program. It was one of magic, because for the first time, I created something more beautiful and far more interesting than I can do by myself. And I've thought about that moment ever since. I've spent the last 15 years building some of the most important products in machine learning, and now I have the opportunity to lead our core AI platform at Microsoft. And our goal is to empower every single person in this room to use AI to shape the world. Now, I'm excited to be here to talk to all of you, but I'm most excited because I love the World Fair. The World Fair is where imagination and impact start to collapse, and that's happened throughout the last century. In 1939, it was the first time that Hollywood came into our living rooms. In 1964, faces came over the copper wires, and today it's all about agents. Agents that can learn, that can adapt, that can extend the way that we live. And most importantly, it's fundamentally changing how we actually make product. So how did we get here? Well, over the last few years, we've seen a change in the model landscape. There used to just be a handful of models from one provider, and now, thanks to many people in this room, there's been an explosion of reasoning models. And that explosion is giving way to new capability and new efficiency. We see that a lot of models can now generate hypotheses, understand unstructured data, even act at a PhD level in certain domains. We also know that these models are becoming more efficient. They don't just live in data centers anymore. They live on our laptops. We have full control, and there's no latency. And so this is starting to birth what we call the agentic web, a world in which agents are going to interact with tools and models and probably other agents. And they're going to do so no matter what cloud they're on, no matter what company built them, no matter what device that you choose to use. And underlying this, it's creating a few different forces in the world of AI engineering. The first is that we're going from pair programming to peer programming. Copilot used to be a sidekick, and now it's an actual teammate. The second is that we're going from a software factory to the agent factory. It's not just about binaries anymore, it's about behaviors. And the third thing that we're seeing is that models don't just live in the cloud anymore, they live on your device, and they can follow you wherever you are. To sustain this, I don't think there's any one tool that we need. Instead, I think it's a platform of AI-powered tools that are going to sit on top of an agent factory that every company is going to have, that has trust and security baked in, and that goes from cloud to edge seamlessly. So let's dive in. Now, as far as I can remember, programming has always been a partnership between the person and the machine. We would write lines of code, and the machine would execute it. But now we're starting to see a world where the machine can write the code, it can fix itself, it can help you imagine new features. And so with that, our entire day is changing. The workflow is changing. The old world used to be us shepherding syntax. And in this new world, GitHub Copilot can now live in your code base. It operates in your branch, you can assign a task to it, and it can run tests until it's complete. That means we're going to spend more time on architectural decisions, more time orchestrating teams of agents. Maintenance is changing too. In the old world, maintenance would compete with features. I hated that world. And in this new world, what we're seeing is the opportunity to invent agents that can continuously improve your code base. And that's why we invented something called Fossey. You can think about it as GraphRag for your code base. It can reason over it, can explain it, and it can continue.
Okay, so if I'm gonna react to anything, it's gonna be this. First and foremost, she just said we are in an open agentic web. I don't know about y'all, but today was my first time hearing that. Okay, so that is mind blowing in itself. We're literally looking at a whole new landscape of opportunity. So again, if you've been a person and you're like, should I get into AI? Should I build that thing? Should I launch that company? Yes. I want to say this because I really have a heart for founders. And I think I've met some brilliant people in the past 3 years in itself with being in tech. I want to see y'all more. You all really have more than enough experience to really dominate, in my personal opinion. So I definitely want you guys to take what she just said as like a new door. So there is no room for you to feel like it can't be me, because as this conference alone is going to be peanuts to the magnitude of the conversations that will be held until the end of this year and beyond on the open door season that's available for you to build and really launch and be that next founder to hit whatever mark you desire for your project. We're in a day and time where things are speeding up so that you can be sped up. You've been wanting support? Here's support. Once you learn how to navigate and work these tools, you can do what you need to do, right? And you literally, by just listening to this alone, shows me that you are A-okay, because you are literally getting firsthand information to something that has not even hit the general I would say the general population's level of understanding of availability. So just wanted to say that. Let's continue.
Continuously improve it and even fix some areas. Another area that I'm really excited about is GitHub as a peer. Now, in the past, it would have
GitHub is a
generic
peer.
AI was just operating on a generic code base. But now, because we have open sourced the extension for GitHub Copilot now understands your patterns, it understands your domains, it understands your teams, and so it can effectively speak your own language. And so instead of designing backwards, you can build forward. Now, I was told that you all like live demos, and so instead of talking about this, I thought I would invite my friend Seth Juarez up to show you some of our AI-powered tools. So, Seth?
Hey, how's it going, my friends? They closed my laptop, so I'm going to open it here. I'm on demo 1, and one of the things about development is there's a couple of tasks that are kind of tedious, right? So I'm going to show you how AI can make 3 of these kinds of things a lot easier to do. Number 1, when you get started on a project, you always have 1,000 questions and no one to ask. I'll show you how GitHub Spaces makes this a little bit easier. Number 2, crushing your first task. How do you get started on a task on a brand new project? I'll show you how. And then number 3, diving deep. All right, so let's start with understanding. There is a new feature called Copilot Spaces. And the cool thing about Copilot Spaces is that you can actually create a Copilot space, give it a prompt, some instructions, and then you can also ground it in a bunch of different files. You're going to see a project later on in live that's going to show you this. But one of the things I want to ask it is, for example, is this really an agentic project? You're going to see a live multi-agent voice thing in a second, and this is the project. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And the thing about GitHub Copilot, now grounded in Spaces, is that it can answer any question that's grounded in the actual facts of the project. So you can create as many spaces as you want. They never get tired of answering questions. They're not only do they give you really good answers, like what does agentic really mean? Great answer. It also gives you the code of where it actually does the thing, so you're able to right away get started in understanding your project. That's number 1. Number 2, crushing your first task. This is a project we released a couple of weeks ago. And somebody literally was like, hey, because you know how you make a demo and then you put it out, and someone always is like, hey, can you write a README? I said no, and I signed it to Copilot. And it did it. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new issue here. And this issue is going to be like an architecture diagram. This probably needs better setup instructions, right? And I'm going to give it some descriptions. Let me show you how easy it is to crush your first task. I'm going to assign it to Copilot. And that's it. Watch the eyeballs right here. In a second, you're going to see little eyeballs just boop, and now it's working. And by the way, this is actually happening live. This isn't like me faking it or anything. And let me go back to this actual project. It did the work for me. It takes a couple of minutes, but I don't have that kind of time here. And let me show you the file that it made for me in GitHub, the actual GitHub Copilot coding assistant, coding agent. It made this whole thing for me. You can ooh a little bit. Yeah, ooh. Yeah, this is delightful. You can clap. This is great. I didn't have to write this. Number 2, crushing your first task. And then number 3, diving deep. It turns out that if you've seen GitHub Copilot inside of Visual Studio Code, you can actually extend Copilot to talk to other agents, and we did just that with Amelie. There's another task that I have here that was assigned to me. Let me go over here to the issues. That says we need a new agent that reasons about housing. That sounds like a deep task, so we're going to use GitHub Copilot to help us here. I'm going to say, can you help me predict the housing prices? And as this goes, what's actually happening is GitHub Copilot and Visual Studio Code is talking to another agent called Amelie, MLE, Machine Learning Engineer Agent, that has 2 agents that can reason about what you're asking and can also write code. So I'm going to go ahead and get this file here, this file here. Let me close it. I'm going to move this over here and say, yes, these are the files. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yeah, use these files. I don't want to use this file, so I'm going to say use these files. So can you use these files? And what it's going to do is it's going to look at this file as if it was a machine learning engineer. It's going to reason about the actual contents of the file, and I can ask it any question about anything that I want. And I'm kind of out of time, so I want to show you the output of this thing, it literally builds an entire machine learning model for me. And you're like, oh, it made a mistake. Did it? You can see here, mistake. What was the mistake? Oh, somebody put a string in the float place. Yeah, and it knew about that, and it fixed it. So there you go. I showed you 3 things. Jumping into a project, understanding it, crushing your first task, and diving deep, all with the help of AI. Back to you, Asha.
Amazing.
All right, thank you, Seth. So both of those agents that you just saw were built on something called Foundry. And underneath the covers of GitHub and all of these new agents, there's a bigger change that's happening. We're going from shipping binaries and neat releases to shipping agents that can retrain and redeploy and change after they're live. And so we've been thinking about what is the best way to do that and studying patterns. And something new is emerging called the signals loop. It's the idea that you can get better results if you actually fine-tune the model to personalize it to your outcome, something that we've long talked about, but we're actually seeing it in the results. So our platform not only supports 70,000 customers with Foundry, but we also support every single Copilot in the company that is built. And this one is called Dragon. Dragon is the leading healthcare Copilot out there. It helps you automate scribing and other things to give physicians more time to give patient care. They took an off-the-shelf model, and it was pretty good. They tried to synthetically fine-tune it to make it better, and it got a little bit better. But then they took 650,000 interactions, and they did a bunch of A/B testing, and we got to an 83% character acceptance rate, so dramatically better quality. And so as we think about what this actual signal loop requires, it means that we're going from this linear software factory to a continuous loop that we need to build for. And that's really what we built Foundry to do. We believe that the entire infrastructure is changing to build these agentic applications and these agentic systems. We don't have time to go through all of these, so I'm just going to go through a few of them and how they're changing. But models. We believe that no one model is right for every single product, and oftentimes the best products have an ensemble or a mixture of models that are finely tuned for every single job to be done. And so we've built a switchboard and intelligent routing so you can have access to 10,000 open models and proprietary models and be able to have it backed by the security and reliability and the data residency that you need. On knowledge, I think I heard that RAG was that. So RAG is used in 50% of applications today for AI, but it's single shot and it's pretty naive. And so we've rolled out something called agentic RAG. It's the idea that you can kind of go around and iterate and evaluate and plan. It's multi-shot. And what we're seeing is a 40% improvement in accuracy on complex queries. We all know that tooling is changing. Tooling is becoming infrastructure. You need more than text to build a good agent. You need the code, you need the containers, and we have that as well. We have more than 1,500 tools. We were one of the first to adopt MCP and A2A. And finally, agents and intelligence is only good if you can actually hold it accountable. And so we are rolling out aggressive
100%.
efforts in this area. We have the leading evaluations SDK, the leading red teaming agents, and we believe that telemetry is an optional. We've integrated with OTel, and we have continuous observability no matter if you've built your agent on our platform or you've built it somewhere else. Today, more than 50,000 agents are built every single day using our loop on our platform. Now, the platform is modular, but we've also made an effort for it to be open. And I want to talk to you about a couple of things on the open side that I'm really excited about. The first is GigaPath. It is the first model of its kind. It's an open model, and it's the first one that can understand a pathology slide. Pathology slide has 100,000 pixels by 100,000 pixels. If you printed it out, it would be the size of a tennis court. It's the first one that can understand it without downsampling or linting. And it does that because we've used dilated attention, which is a technique we borrowed from speech modeling. And so now you can understand how to build an immune tumor environment without doing it in patches, without the macro environment. You can do it at a micro level for the first time. And that's an open model on our platform. Obviously, everybody's following DeepSeek, and there was an update to the R1 model a couple of days ago. That update is on our platform today on Foundry, backed by all of our security and safety for all of you to use.
That's amazing.
And finally, we're continuing to invest in A2A and MCP and all of the open protocols. I think the big thing for us to think about is that we believe that these protocols will continue to come along and they're going to be popular, and we're going to support them all so you can work with the tools that you love. Now, I want to show you how simple it is to build an agent, but not just one, multiple agents that are useful. We've got another demo. Please welcome Amanda and Elijah.
What better way to showcase our Foundry Agent Factory than by demonstrating it live, then taking you behind the scenes with us to build the agents and ensure they're safe and secure. Before we dive into our multi-agent application, let's go over to Demo 3, where Elijah's going to show you how to build a single agent in VS Code.
Awesome. So jumping right into VS Code, you guys will notice that I have installed the Azure AI Foundry extension. This extension is awesome because it allows us to see all of the models, agents, as well as threads that I have associated with my project. And I want to take a moment here to talk about threads. As you guys know, threads is an integral part of agents, and it's critical for the transparency aspect of being able to see what the agent is doing at each step of the way. So here I can see a thread that Amanda created earlier that's saying, hey, Elijah's a product manager. Can you send him a personalized email? And we'll be using a personalized email agent today. So then it receives from a contact list, it sends us some information, and what's great about this is that I can see the tool calls that it's used, as well as some information around prompting and tokens, so that's great. Then I can look at the actual agent, which I can see here, and we have the ID, the name, the system prompt, as well as the tools that are being used. Now that's great in the UI, but let's jump right into the actual code of how we built this. So going in here, you can see I'm using the Azure AI Foundry agent service SDK that Asha just talked to us about. So I'm initializing that using our project client, creating the actual agent, and then giving it a set of tools. And so today, in the agent service, we have a bunch of different tools. Today, we're using the bin grounding tool, the file search tool, and the open API tool. But what's great is that I could use a variety of tools here. I could use MCP servers, I could use external APIs, and I could even use other agents using the Foundry connected agent tool. And then I create the agent, use the model, and then give it some instructions. And then, finally, I can execute this agent here. And it's important to also note that I'm executing a Foundry agent, but I could use a wide variety of agents here. I could use LangChain agents. I know our friends from LangChain are here today. I could use Crew AI agents, or even, as Asha mentioned, multiple agents using A to A protocol. So this is awesome, but now let's see these agents in action.
Yeah. Now let's switch over to Demo 2 again and dive into our app. So Build Events is a multi-agent event planner application powered by a voice-controlled agentic orchestrator that dynamically delegates tasks to sub-agents we built using our Foundry agent service. At Microsoft Build, we showed how this app could actually help us plan for a hackathon in San Francisco for 200 people. But truthfully, this can help us plan any type of event. And today, we're going to show how we could actually use it to plan and prepare for investor meetings at the AI World Fair in San Francisco. So let's dive into it.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, this is dope tech.
Okay, so that was a lot. Like, that was a lot. And I'm really mind blown for real. I will say this, we were in the beginning of a lot of content around AI implementation. There was so much use ChatGPT, use Claude, use Perplexity, use this, use that, try Cursor, try Windsurf. And now we're literally seeing full integration to where you don't need to even go externally, right? We used to get excited about certain Chrome extensions that were supportive to getting integrated into Google Docs. I remember when AIPRM was like the top dog as far as hype around AI tools, right? And now we're literally looking at, as a builder or as a solo founder, you now have a support team that's already integrated within the platforms that you may be building on, such as your GitHub account, right? To, hey, write my README. And instead of you needing to ask that same exact prompt into ChatGPT directly, which I'm sure you still can get the same high quality output, it's made it even more simpler where you don't even have to go outside of your dashboard. So that may seem small to, many builders who are like, I'm not impressed. But to the average viewer, that is mind blowing. That is something that is like, wow, I don't even have to, I don't have to move. I don't have to switch screens. I can literally just flow. And I believe that it's going to allow you to continue to creatively Focus on what it is that you truly want to build to solve the real problem for the end users. And I'll land there as we continue. I know I said that was going to be my only talk, but we're going to watch one more because I got a new spike of energy. So let's get it.
First, we are going to ask it who we should be connecting with.
How can I assist you with your event planning needs today?
Find top angel investors backing pre-Series A AI native SaaS startups who are attending the AI Engineering World Fair in San Francisco.
I'm gathering information on the top angel investors attending the event. Is there anything else you'd like to know or plan while I continue this task?
As you can see, our first agent is now hard at work. This is the research agent. We provided it access to the entire speaker list as well as some attendees that had said online that they were coming, and it has access to search the web using our Bing grounding tool. So let's see what this comes up with. And everything you're seeing today is completely live, so bear with it.
I found information on top angel investors who are attending the AI Engineering World's Fair in
Send a personalized email to Asha Sharma now asking to connect at the event.
I'm drafting a personalized email to connect with Asha Sharma at the event. Is there anything else you'd like me to include or any other assistance you need?
So as you can see, our second agent
to Asha Sharma has been drafted, focusing on opportunities in AI native SaaS startups and potential collaboration. Would you like to proceed with any other tasks? The email draft to Asha Sharma is ready.
Awesome. Now could you take a live photo of Elijah and I and edit us to be AI agents, cartoon-like? Think Azure OpenAI meets Pixar.
Please go ahead and click on the camera icon to take a live photo.
That's fire.
The image will be transformed into a cartoon-like style, depicting you both as AI
Great.
agents.
In the meantime, could you also draft some content asking or saying we'll be in San Francisco and are happy to meet with anyone at the World Fair to talk about AI agents?
I'm drafting LinkedIn content to announce your presence at the AI Engineering World's Fair and your eagerness to connect with others to discuss AI agents. The image will be ready shortly as well.
Look at that.
Look at the picture.
Content announcing your presence at the AI
Awesome.
Engineering World's
This
Fair.
looks great. Could you now post both this image and the draft to LinkedIn?
I love how she's interrupting
LinkedIn
by saying
post with the edited
awesome
image
and
is being
great. I'm gonna
published.
start doing
Is
it
there
using voice
anything else
agents.
you'd like assistance with?
And so now, what tool is it using to do this, Amanda?
So right now, we actually, in this past sequence, had two agents be kicked off simultaneously. One was generating and editing our image, and then the second agent was drafting the content.
Your LinkedIn post has been
looks like it's
successfully
live.
published
Let's moment
with
of
the
truth.
edited image.
Drum roll,
Going to
please.
Anything more I can
LinkedIn.
help you with, just let me know.
And
As
there
you can
it
see,
is.
the post is now live.
That's amazing, y'all.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, now
And
back to Elijah.
one quick final note, Asha. You talked about earlier how important evaluations are. So if we want to go to demo 3 really quick, here at Azure OpenAI Agent Service, we're committed to making sure that our agents are consistently delivering high-quality results. So as Asha mentioned earlier, and we actually about the evaluation SDK, we integrated this right into our CI/CD pipeline so that we can be able to evaluate our agents every time we make updates. So you saw today how to create, use, and now evaluate agents. And with that, we'll turn it right back over to you, Asha. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Amazing demos.
We didn't know how that would go yesterday. The internet wasn't working, so that's amazing. And I also have had about 15 emails from Amanda over the last 24 hours, which I appreciate. Okay, we have to go quickly here, but. Look, one of the last big things I want to talk to you about is how models don't just live in the cloud. Even for the last 10 years, we've been working really hard to do that because that's where your data is. Your data is now everywhere. And this isn't just a hobbyist thing. We are seeing real applications of this at scale. I was just at a bottling plant, and there's an agent there that is taking 100,000 sensors per second and allowing it to actually detect risks and flag and throw the summaries in the cloud. We're building an agent right now for a hospital system that basically summarizes the longitudinal data. And if you work in healthcare, you know that that can't be in the cloud. It has to be local because of compliance and privacy reasons. But the cloud should be able to read it and access it. And we're working with automobile companies because they're building automotive models that we want to work in tunnels, and then we want it to actually make your trip better and smarter. And so with all of this, local cannot be a fork. It has to be a core part of the platform. You should be able to create an agent in the cloud, and it should run and act and reason locally. And so I've got one more demo. Seth is coming back out, and then we will wrap up. Seth, why don't you show us how to get local?
Let's do this. Here, we're going to show you another live demo. Let me make this, I have a little VM running here, but I need to put the password in. And we are very concerned about, wow, are they playing the walk-off music on me?
I want to quickly talk to you about SimilarWeb and how I've been using.
So very, very great demos. I think that here's what I want to share, because I actually want to give real content and real context to what we're seeing. So many may say that, okay, we've seen automation with AI. What's the big deal, maybe? Well, as she's about to even go into another level where whatever you build will now be available through their Foundry local. As a service provider or an engineer or a software engineer looking for opportunities to pivot, now you can learn Azure AI as your home base for this example. And now you can go and personalize, and you were still able to do this before for, again, our advanced people, but they're making it even more simpler for you to offer these services to clientele. You can walk into a small business that may be a medical facility, and with this basic level of understanding, and solve real problems for their whole organization, just because you know this level of tech. You know how to build a whole infrastructure that can run locally and avoid security threats that they may be a little bit leery about due to the confidentiality and just overall cybersecurity safetyness with AI, right? So this is building new pipelines, new innovative roadways for you to find your lane, right? Everybody wants to, what's their niche? These are the new niches. These are the new, you understand what I'm saying to you? You can't know where and how to pivot if you don't even know the new niches. You didn't know about the open agentic web. Now you can start teaching on that. Now you can start facilitating and positioning yourself 5 years down the line. What is this going to look like? Or at least the next 12 to 16 months, you can start building for that, right? So I think seeing that in itself is crazy. So I want to share something else. The demo with they built the page, the LinkedIn page, they made the post, they did all that in a live demo on stage. It's like a common theme where they talk about demos normally crash. It's a normal thing in the world of software engineering. And I just think as developers world, engineering world, whatever you want to label the world, right? But I think it's not strange that I see more and more demos, especially around agentic AI, needing to be accurate. Like you can kind of see the intensity on the speakers' faces that they're like, this demo has to work. Like the failure is not an option. So the level of accuracy that AI has to meet and the expectation is like literally visible for us to see. And I think that is great. And I can't wait to continue my own personal journey, right? And I know that you all are probably way more advanced, way more in a level of understanding than me, right? I'm where I'm at, right? We're all learning. Doesn't matter if you're on day one or day 3060, right? You can still get ahead just by watching this and getting this information. So, what we just saw, these all in, I'm calling them all in one solutions that are now being presented, we're going to see a real game change in the marketplace. So, let me go ahead and continue.
Our next presenter is the founding partner of Conviction Capital. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Sarah Goa.
I think this is the founder that I was talking about earlier. Yes, she's really good. Y'all listen. Like y'all not listening.
Hardest problem in AI will remain AV, as in the last 2 decades of technology. Actually, you know what? I will get
They
us
don't have
started
a
while
lot
we're
of
doing
technical
AV setup by
difficulties,
seeing
so
if I
just
can
listen.
just tell you about the Slido poll. You guys can do it while we're waiting here. So if you go to Slido and pull it up. Oh, great.
You about to watch her, like, they is gonna have a lot of technical difficulties, literally, and I commend her for how she handled that. Like, that's nerve-wracking when things like completely go left and you're trying to present,
God's
and
willing.
she pivoted very well, in my opinion. So I want to say 10 out of 10, but I loved their whole entire presentation, even during the
No,
mishaps.
it's just blank screen now.
So you're seeing the mishaps happen now.
Okay, so the Slido code, go to slido.com. And the code is 2100163. Guys, we're about to ask AI to tell us a joke, okay? You guys know you have no internet? Okay, the Slido code is 2100163 for people who can get it. I'm actually going to do it like super manual. So first question for you. What is definitely happening by the end of 2026? AI agents ship code directly to prod in your environment, right? Not in like some playground. Voice AI replaces text for most business communication. Inference cost drops below a cent per million tokens. Or Wall-E, like we're all chilling. Any of these? First one, ship code directly to prod. Okay, this is a hopeful set of engineers. All of you want to get rid of your own jobs. I love that. The good thing is I also don't have internet, so I can't look at my next question.
Okay, Arthur Engel Worthington Schmidt.
Okay, yeah. So again, I want to say that I really, really enjoyed her talk. One more time, like the advice that she gives, you just gotta listen.
It's gonna be good. No, I was gonna go through poll questions while we're trying to do AV setup.
This one now?
Yeah. While this is happening, I'm actually just going to introduce myself so we're not wasting the time. My name is Sarah Goa. I helped start a AI native venture fund. It's called Conviction. And we got going about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now, just before the starting gun of ChatGPT. As always in technology investing most of life, it's better to be lucky than right. Hopefully you can be a little of both. And the point of having a new venture firm, I worked at Greylock. It's kind of a traditionalist venture firm, a great one. My partner, Mike Vernal, used to work at Sequoia. You guys have probably heard of them. Was that we think, like, actually, at risk of sounding like those people, this time it's different, right? That this is the largest technology revolution that we get to be a part of, and that there's so much change in the technology, the types of businesses you can build, the product decisions you make, what challenges these startups and big companies face that maybe there's opportunity for like a startup VC as well. And so I'm thrilled to be working with like really interesting people in the industry so far. Mike and I are investors in companies like Cursor, Cognition, Mistral, Thinking Machines, Harvey, Open Evidence. So a mix of base 10, like a mix of infrastructure, model, and application level companies. And one more, are my kids coming up yet? Okay, cool. One more just observation from the last 2.5, 3 years of doing venture. I was an investor for about 10 years before that, is I have never seen the just the uptake from users that has been possible in the last couple years. I'm sure all of you have experienced that. It is not trivial. AI product and AI engineering, and this is kind of the theme of my talk, so I'm sorry to give away the punchline, but it's quite a bit harder than people had hoped. But the value creation is massive. We see companies going from 0 to 10, 50, 100 million in run rate very, very quickly, faster than we've ever seen in any technology revolution before. I get asked a lot, like, where are we in the AI hype cycle? Is the winter coming? Is this like infinite AI summer? And I would say, having actually been an investor or an operator through a macro cycle at this point, like, I try to pay very little attention to what the marketing world is saying or even what the markets are saying, right? Because if you're an operator or an investor, maybe you care about what the stock price does every day, but really you want to figure out if the company you're working for or starting is going to work long term, right? And if the products are going to work long term. And the things that I get most excited about are seeing like crazy usage numbers. Okay, woo! Thank you, amazing AV team. Okay, I'm gonna go real quick. Where are my presenter notes? Okay, we're just gonna keep going. It's cool. It's cool. So I want to talk really quickly about just a few things today. I think we lost a little bit of time, but let's talk about capabilities, what we're seeing work in the market, and then maybe some advice on like what to build if those are a question you're considering. I think the shorthand that we're going to use in this presentation is like Cursor for X, right? And I do think that's a really massive opportunity. The first thing in capability for this past year is clearly reasoning. Reasoning's a new vector for scaling intelligence with more compute. The labs are really excited about this because they get to spend more money and get more output. But we should also be really excited about this in terms of unlocking new capabilities, right? If you just put aside how it works, it's a confidence-boosting implementation detail, but we should expect more capability. You're unlocking a new set of use cases, like transparent, high-stakes decisions where showing the work matters, sequential problems where you need to do systematic search. I think this looks like a lot of problems that we're excited about and face in knowledge work every day. As you have just seen demos of, and I'm sure are working on, given reasoning, people are really excited about agents. To put a, I want to do like the Steve Ballmer impression that's like agents, 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 agents. But you have to give me more than 12 minutes to like get that sweaty. But like the non-marketing definition that I think of is it's software that it takes some set of steps. It like plans, it includes AI, it takes ownership of a task, and it can hold a goal in memory, try different hypotheses, backtrack. It ranges from super sophisticated to super simple. Some of the tools it might use to accomplish a task include other models or search. And Largely, it's just like AI systems that do something, and that's not a chatbot. That looks more like a colleague. And one thing that I think we have a really unique vantage point on is we back a small number of companies at Conviction, but we also run a grant program for AI startups. It's called Embed. We get thousands of applications every year, and includes like user data and revenue data and like really amazing people. And the number of agent startups has gone up 50% over the last year, and a lot of them are working. Like, we do see stuff that's working in the real world, and that's super exciting. Other modalities are progressing too. I'm sure a lot of people are using voice, video, image generation, even beyond, Studio Ghibli. But you have companies like HeyGen and 11 and Midjourney that are rocketing past 50 million of ARR. These are real businesses now. I want to see if I can quickly play for you.
They told me to express myself, so I did. They told me to express myself, so I did. Now I'm banned from 3 coffee shops. Hands can hurt or heal. That's the difference between chaos and creation.
So if you're wondering where Q3 is headed, here's the thing. Consistency always beats urgency. We've got the projections ready, and let's just say it's looking solid.
I would definitely recommend it to anyone.
So I think like if you just are looking for artifacts of improvement, this is from a company called HeyGen. You can make clones of yourself, of fake people, and like you have gestures and expressions that reflect emotion and content now, right? So these models work together, and like, I don't know about you guys, but looking at that last gal, like I feel influenced. I don't know what the bunny is, but I would buy it. And so I think like huge swaths of the economy are going to be affected by this sort of multimodality.
For sure.
Some investors or operators would say multimodality would just be for niche verticals, that enterprises don't have, your average enterprise doesn't have that much voice, video, image data today. But I think that changes, right? When you can do stuff with this data, when it is structured and understood, there's more reason to capture it. And I think of like, how much video do all of us watch every day? It's one of the highest bandwidth communication methods, and we're just going to use more of it.
100%.
We think voice is where we're going to see applications first in business workflows, because it's already a very natural communication mode. So everything from medical consults to lead generation, places you already had business voice, you just couldn't scale it before. I think that's where we're going to see it first. But as these other modalities become more controllable and also less costly, we should see all of them. I think it's safe to say you can expect capability improvement in every part of the model layer, which is really exciting. A lot of people were talking about the data wall or like the end of AI summer, but for anybody who's building applications, I'm at least to tell you one person's opinion is it's not coming. And then usefully for all of us, that market for model capabilities is getting more competitive, not less. Sam Altman himself, I think, said it best. Last year's model is a commodity, which is a scary thing for a model provider to say, because last year's model is now pretty damn good, right? The numbers tell the story. GPT-4 went from $30 per million tokens to $2 in about 18 months. The distilled versions of that are like now 10 cents, so we can really use them very broadly. If you look at this chart, green is Google, yellow is Anthropic. So you see, it's a real mix. This is data from OpenRouter, so thank you, OpenRouter, for that. But you really saw Claude cut into OpenAI's market share and Google come roaring back with Gemini. This data is obviously a little biased because a lot of people just go direct to OpenAI. But if you're into multi-model, there really is a mix. And you do have credible new players like SSI and Thinking Machines, some of the best researchers in the business with orthogonal technical approaches entering the fray as well. And I'm sure many of you have experimented with DeepSeek, coming out with releases of both base and reasoning models that are reasonably competitive with a claimed fraction of the training cost. Like, we should just assume that open source will do as open source does, and we can rely on the model market to compete for our business, which is really exciting. And so the view is plan for a world that is multi-model. Tools like OpenRouter or inference platforms like Base 10 help that. And I think be comfortable with that. I am.
I love that. She said plan for a world that is multi-model. And I just wanted to shout out HeyGen. First of all, I want to shout out Thursday AI. That's a weekly show that is held on X, and they live stream as well. But they are on the banner for Weights and Biases. I know the person who created that is a part of that company, Weights and Biases, and I see that they're a sponsor. They're also covering live footage because they are there for the conference, so definitely tap into that. And yes, Hey Jen is phenomenal. I'm an active user. Great, great new rollouts. They just had a conference on yesterday that went over everything that they have new coming. Not yesterday, because it's on Tuesday. What was it? Was it on Monday or Tuesday? I watched it. I think it was the 3rd or the 4th. Anyways, 2 days ago or so, they released all of their gesture poses with the avatars. So that's just next level in creating digital AI twins or taking photos and making avatars for them so that they can talk and move and orchestrate presentations. So definitely just wanted to piggyback on what she was talking about with Hey Jen if you haven't played around with it. And for the founders who's like antisocial or you're more introverted, I would say you want to look into tools like Hey Jen to support you as well.
Shift quickly to the application layer. We have to start with Cursor. 1 million to 100 million of ARR in 12 months and 500,000 developers. I assume all of you, 0 salespeople to start. That's not growth. That is a killer application. Cognition, which started with more autonomy, is already the top committer in many companies. Feeling a little threatened, but also excited, because recruiting is hard. And then Windsurf, who's on a tear itself and really beloved, is being acquired by OpenAI for $3 billion. So we know for sure that the labs don't think that they can just steamroll everyone, right? Lovable and Bolt hit 30 million of ARR each in a handful of weeks, helping non-engineers vibe as well. So our ranks are expanding. And I think it's useful to just analyze a little bit why code was first. Fundamentally, it is text with it's like logical language with structure, right? So much of coding is sophisticated boilerplate. Like we all love engineering, but some of it is like craft work, not new algorithm work. You don't need AGI to write an API endpoint or a React component. Second, you have deterministic validation. You can automatically check if code works, run tests, compile, execute, do things developers would do. And third, researchers believe code is crucial for AGI, right? So they poured resources into it, and code became a key benchmark and a training priority and an area for data collection. But I think the last point is the money point to me. Engineers built tools for engineers. They understood the workflow intimately, and that made all the difference. And that last part is the playbook for every other industry. I'm sure people are building things that serve beyond engineers. And I don't think the winners will just be AI experts learning those domains. They'll be customer-centric, problem-centric builders who understand AI and then redesign workflows from first principles around manipulating those models. And so I think that's really the opportunity to build Cursor for X. Let's think a little bit about what that means. Cursor is not a single model. One model's doing diffs, one's doing merge, one's embedding the files. They manipulate and package up the context. They prompt the models very skillfully. They let engineers avoid repetitive tasks and standardize with things like Cursor rules. And then if you're using Cursor in a team or even yourself, regularly, retrieval accuracy gets better the more you use it with coverage and freshness. And so all of this happens in a UX that makes sense, right? Like I use VS Code, I'm familiar with it, my shortcuts work, and they make it safe to say yes, right? Like green for add and red for subtract makes sense. I can scroll through it, and it's fast enough that I don't get frustrated. So my view is Cursor, if it's a wrapper, it's like a very nice, thick, perhaps $14 or $15 billion wrapper, right? It's like if your burrito was 80% wrap and 20% fill, but you got to choose the fill, and there's like an open market for fill, right? And so where's the value now? It may not be in the protein. It's kind of in the company. So if we try to generalize that recipe a little bit, if you are building a generic text box, like, unless you're just like learning to do this, please don't. Like OpenAI already won that, or it's just not very valuable to do so. Your domain knowledge, your workflow knowledge can be the bootstrap. If you already know what users in your industry need, don't make them explain it. Build products that show up informed. They collect and package context automatically, including from other sources, not just natural language. Present it to the models. Use the right models at the right time, now known as orchestration, and present the outputs to the users thoughtfully. Right? So I do not think this is the end of the GUI. I think you can capture and enable workflow with these models. And all of this requires taste and a ton of work. I'd argue that like some version of this recipe is much of the work each of us is going to do. So don't listen to the labs from a user experience perspective. The prompt is a bug, not a feature. I think it's like a stepping stone. Don't make me think as a user. The best AI products, they feel like mind reading because they are. There's enormous headroom in building these products, and I think that's really exciting because that's what most of us in this room have alpha on. What is a software company if not a very thick like workflow wrapper most of the time? That's true in 2015. It's true in 2025. Besides code, where might you go apply this? We think the opportunities to build value around the LLMs exist in every vertical and profession. But here's something counterintuitive. Beyond coding, one of the things that I've been surprised by is that the most conservative, low-tech industries seem to be adopting AI fastest. We call this the AI leapfrog effect internally. These are 3 portfolio companies. They're working. Sierra resolves 70% of customer service queries for their customers. They serve people that you guys use, like SiriusXM or ADT. Harvey is 2 years in, well over 70 million of ARR. Its AI is essential now to being competitive in the legal industry. There's a company called Open Evidence, which helps doctors stay up to date with medical research. You have to be a clinician to use it, but you give it your medical ID number, and you can do intelligent search against medical research at the point of clinical decision making. Today, it reaches 1/3 of doctors in the US weekly, and the average user uses it daily. Right? And so I think there's just examples of huge value beyond ChatGPT. These are companies that know their customer and solving real problems. As a piece of trivia that you may or may not know, Brett at Sierra is the chairman of the board at OpenAI. OpenAI was Harvey's seed investor. And if these people are not fretting about thin wrappers, like I suggest you don't either.
Right.
Okay. Finally, I'll make an observation. A lot of people are excited about full automation. Now I'm sweaty enough, so agents, 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 agents. But when we analyze the applications to embed, I said, it's gone up to 50%, doubling applications for agentic startups in the last year. I think some people think copilots are yesterday's news. They want to get to the end game, right? Like, your colleague and AGI. But in terms of what works, like the data on what's driving revenue, I think copilots are still really underrated. We see a whole spectrum of how much automation. And I think the Iron Man analogy is still really great here. Tony Stark's Iron Man suit augments him, right? He can do all these amazing things. But it could also fly around on command, could do some basic tasks without Tony. And my experience with these companies has been that human tolerance for failure or hallucinations or lack of reliability, it just reduces dramatically as latency increases, right? So the path of least frustration today for many domains is to build great augmentation and then just ride the wave of capability because we know it's coming. And so my advice for many domains would think about, build the suit, and you can extend out to the suit that flies on its own once Tony or any of us is wearing it. I'm not going to go through each of these, mostly because I lost time. But there are a ton of opportunities. We put requests for startups on our website. We're interested in a couple different categories of things. They go from just good fit for purpose, like the law is a space of lots of text generation, right? To things that weren't possible before AI. My partner, Mike, will say, this is a really interesting era of machines interrogating humans. What can you do if you can go, collect data on demand from people? We could talk to every customer, not just the top 5% by contract value. We could root cause every alert proactively, right, versus, just firefight. And the mental model is how can you build as if you had an army of compliant, infinitely patient knowledge workers. One aside here is I think there are many hard problems where like the basic premise is the answer to them is not in Common Crawl, right? The reasoning around them is not in Common Crawl. So this would be robotics, biology, material science, physics simulation. They require clever data collection, probably interaction with atoms, not just bits. Super scary for a software person, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze, right? The same reasoning that crushes math Olympiads can seemingly navigate molecular space, and I think there are some really fundamental questions for human society that can be answered when people work on these problems. And it's really cool as a machine learning person to meet people in at the top of their field, at the intersection of machine learning and all of these other areas, because like you guys would also understand the same architectures apply, right? And that's just that's really exciting.
Correct.
How should we think about defensibility to this advance? Okay, so one last point, and then I'll conclude here. Some would say stay out of the way of the labs, don't pick up pennies in front of the steamroller, right? But I would offer what I think is an uncomfortable truth. Execution is the moat in AI, and that's available to all of us. Cursor arguably did not invent code completion. They did not invent the model. They didn't invent their product surface area, right? They just out-executed on every dimension of this. They shipped a great experience faster than their competitors could copy, and they captured the hearts and minds of developers, at least in this term. I don't mean this to be cruel, but I often get asked about like counter cases and the importance of first mover advantage. Let's be brutally honest. In contrast, like Jasper had first mover advantage. Brand,
Yes, they
raised
did.
$125 million, but its first product was a series of prompts in a text box and like very good SEO. And like you have to keep running. Like ChatGPT, crushed the first iteration pretty quickly. And so I don't think this is satisfying advice, but I think it is like real from the trenches. Build something thick and stay ahead, and like no domains are out of question. Magical AI experiences, they build customer trust and drive adoption. And a lot of the data we need to improve these experiences and the context we need, it is not easily available today. And that advantage is, open for the taking and not for the labs. So I guess in conclusion, I think the opportunity is early and really massive. Like I've made a career bet on it. I think many of you are. We're in the dial-up era of AI, and we're moving pretty quickly to broadband.
100%.
Instagram came 4 years after the iPhone. Like I was there when Greylock made that investment. Uber, 5 years. DoorDash, 6. Right. So the truly transformative companies, they weren't necessarily the first people to recognize the changes or the opportunity. It was those who reimagined the experiences. And the game board keeps getting shaken up. That's the thing that's different this time, right? It's like getting a new iPhone. That's actually different every 12 months. And so you have like new model release, new capability breakthrough, 1/10 the cost. And every time the game board turns, I think there's an opportunity to win again. Okay, so I'll give you one last sentence and be chased off the stage. This was not my fault. Here's what I really want you to remember. You, as the engineers, got the magic first. The Anthropic economic index said that 40% of use was still coding. That's not like 40% of the economic opportunity in the world, right? And so it is the job of everyone in this room and globally online to be the translators for the rest of the world. So I encourage you to build something revolutionary. Thanks.
I would say, again, she was my favorite talk from today, and it's 8 hours long, and we're not going to stream that long. Thank y'all for joining me tonight. I want to just piggyback on a few things that she says as I close out this reaction recap of day 1 of the AI Engineer Conference. Number 1, rewatch this. Rewatch this. Go subscribe to their channel so you don't miss day 2. That I believe they have a day 3 as well. So it's 2 more days of the conference. She laid out a lot of foundational roadmaps for builders to think about what it is that they actually want to build or how they can enhance their current projects that they're working on so that it can work long term and have longevity. Another thing is read the purple cow, because in the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Those are great books to a lot of points that she was talking about when it comes to being the first person to really captivate the marketplace for the problem in which you're building your solution around, such as Cursor and Jasper killed the industry with being the first reliable writing tool out there. And still to this day, when people talk about the best writing AI assistant tool, they literally yell out Jasper first, and then I'll hear Claude, because Claude is good at writing. Claude is great at writing if you want to look for an alternative. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about being an engineer and a builder and a founder, you want to look at understanding the market still is going to be the market. I have not seen the evolution of tech or the evolution of anything regarding business get away from those foundational old books of those 22 laws of marketing, the purple cow. Those things are still going to be relevant today. So even as we move forward in technology and move forward with agentic AI and AI, the same rules to the game will still apply. So with that being said, I love y'all with the love of Christ. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I really hope y'all enjoyed this reaction / recap video. And make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank all of y'all, all 60 some plus of y'all who tuned in tonight. Is late, so I wasn't expecting that many people to tune in. But y'all showed up, so I know that y'all wanted the content. So I'm happy I did it. I didn't waste anyone's time or mine. So again, love y'all with the love of Christ, and y'all have a good night.